too, so we can send it later to everyone here. Well, thank you, Elaine, for organizing this. I appreciate it.
Okay. It's all right. It's good.
And thank you, everyone, for giving your time and joining me here. I'm really excited to meet all of you. There's some familiar faces like Gael and Dawn who participated in my workshops. So it's nice to have you here too, Gael and Dawn. Thank you. And I'm just here for you. I'm excited to come to the UK for the first time, and always dreamt about running in the Highlands in Scotland. So that dream is gonna come true. Not naked, maybe. So I'm excited to visit your beautiful country, and excited to share my work and share a space with you and dive into the cocoon of trauma. We're all in that collective womb of trauma. Uh, I love Kerala, that picture behind you, that virtual picture. It just kind of, you know, reminds me that we really are all in a cocoon and in the cocoon of trauma, if we know it or don't know it. And we're going to share that space in Glasgow for 3 days, 3 deep days. So thank you. I'm here for you.
Great. This is good. Alessandra just asked to be coming. Right. So people are now sending me messages on my phone
Of course.
because so you carry on. I tell you what,
Sure.
Jackie, you had some really nice questions to ask Michal. So why don't you kick off and I will carry on.
Okay. Michael, I had about 3 questions. I'd sent them.
Let me roll up my sleeves. Wait, okay. There we
go. I've done a lot of energy work in the past. I've been working with energy since I was very small.
Okay.
And when I started shiatsu, I became very interested in the extraordinary vessels. So, trauma hits us deep in our core. So how much of an emphasis do you put on working with, say, the penetrating vessel when working with trauma?
Well, that's such a good question. And I'll tell you why it's such a good question, because right now I'm writing a whole chapter for a book about it. And the book is based on a handful of questions. And one of them is, are meridians important in shiatsu? And I mean, there's other additional 5 questions, which I finished a month ago. And where I got stuck is with this question, because it's not that the question itself made me stuck. It made me reflect in a way on the last 25 years of my journey, with the vehicle of shiatsu and how I evolved to create this methodology and approach. So in a nutshell, I mean, I could talk extensively about it. It is really will go into describing my whole journey, but in a nutshell, meridians, in a way, are just as they are pathways to the story. Okay. So we all carry a story, and we all carry a pain story, and we are masters in adapting into that story, knowingly and unknowingly, consciously and unconsciously. We just adapt. We not only adapt, but we are great managers. We just manage and adapt. And some of us are really good fighters, and some of us are really good escape artists. And in a way, that builds an infrastructure. So I'm more concentrate in my work. I concentrate more on the story and give that the most credence as opposed to breaking it down to just the meridians.
Mm.
Every meridian, of course, is important. Every meridian interacts with the others. In my experience, trauma infiltrates into every meridian. So to me, they're all precious, they're all important, but they don't take uh, credence in my work,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. And one of the other questions I had was what about working with spirits? You know, the Hun and the Yi and whatever, with trauma.
Yeah. Well, maybe there I'll start with a story, and just like you, Jackie, and I'm sure many of you, ever since I was a young boy, I guess I came to this world very sensitive, right? And as a young boy, I had spiritual, let's say, experiences, but as a boy, you ignore them, and I never even shared those experiences with anyone. And my mom always says sometimes hours will go by, and all of a sudden she realizes she hasn't seen me, and she will come to the room, and I'm in a different place for hours, right? And so I always had this, I guess, innate ability to go somewhere else and connect with a different place, a different universe. But I didn't give it much credence until really I became a therapist at a young age of 26. The first client that I had, even before I got my equipment and an office to practice from, I did a demo at a health food store, and this Greek lady said, "I want you to come and give me a treatment every week on a Friday at 5 o'clock." And I was so excited because I never even got set up, and I already have a client that wants to see me every week. Can you imagine? At 26 years old, fresh out of a program, and I don't have, and I can just drive to a house and give her a treat. So every Friday I would go and treat her, and she would just cry. From as soon as I would touch her, to when we will finish the treatment, she would just cry nonstop. And it was a lot to deal with as a first patient, at 26 especially. And I just did my best. I just was very present and with her through the whole hour. So that went like that for 2 weeks. On the third week, the usual thing, she was crying, and I just finished the session. But this time, something extraordinary happened, and I felt and saw the presence of two spirits. And at first, I thought it was my imagination, my mind playing tricks, and I tried to ignore it. And I actually got up from the mat, walked around, and there was a couch on this side, just like my couch here. And I was about to sit on it, and I felt the man spirit, the father spirit. It was the mother and father of this woman. He actually put his hand, well, not a physical hand, but it felt like a hand on my neck, and it sent a current down my spine, and it actually brought me to my knees. And I was in shock, yelling, "He's touching me." And the Greek woman came out of her crying state, and she's like, "Who's touching you?" And I said, "It's your father. He looks like this. He has a mustache, he has sideburns, and he used to wear glasses." And what does he want? What does he want? And I'm telling her some of the things that he wanted me to share with her. And she went from crying to hysteria now. She was quite hysteric. I'm in shock. The experience finished. I'm on my knees. I don't even know how I got there. And the couch is right here. I barely get and sit on the couch, and I'm confused and shocked, and she is hysterically crying. Now, what happened next scared me even more. She finished her crying. When she got up, her demeanor completely changed. And here's a woman that was crying every week, and she was in this grief state, and she got up with full strength. She walked towards me. She grabbed me by the hand, and right in front of us, there were two French doors open leading to the dining room. There was a long table, and there were three lit candles on the table. And we walked to the middle candle. She lifted the candle. There was a piece of paper folded, and she said, "Read this." And I opened the piece of paper, and it said, "Father and mother, please come down. I need your help and guidance." My body was like this. She went. This is a true story. I could tell you so many stories. She had a little mini bar in her suite. She pulls out a Greek whiskey, Metaxa. She brings it to me, and she brings me a huge payment and even a tip. And she said, "This is why I hired you. I'm a medium." She said about herself. She is a medium. And when she saw me do that demo in the health food store, she saw that I had a gift. I don't know how she saw it. She saw it. She goes, "This is exactly why I hired you for. I don't need your services anymore." And I was in shock. I drove home, like in the movies, when there's a movie about spirits, the person is always looking in the mirror as if the spirits are still following him. But, that's how I felt. I drove home. As soon as I parked the car, all the street lights on my street shut down. Boom, 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 boom. I ran across the street. I can't believe I'm telling you the story, but I ran across the street. I'm fumbling my keys, opened the door, closed the door, ran to the bedroom, closed that door, and went under the blanket, looking at the door, thinking like somehow they get after me, right? So that was my first experience with spirits. Everything that I've learned since, and I had to learn a lot, and the way that I work with trauma is always taken into account the spirits or the spiritual. So it's a big part of my work, and it's something that is not talked enough about in our profession. Because anytime you do energy work, and particularly something like shiatsu, and it's actually, I've talked to people that have studied the history of shiatsu and the history of Japanese theory. There was always an aspect of mediumship, of working with the spirits, of working on spiritual problems. But of course, like with a lot of things in our history, those things have been discarded or even ridiculed. But it's very much a part of my work, and it's very much a part of working with trauma, because when you work with trauma, it's touching the web of life, and particularly touching the ancestry. And again, I can share hundreds of stories, and a lot of how I work and how I teach and how I approach things is because of experiences like that. Now, I don't like to share the stories, for the reasons of having people look at me as someone special. This is not the reason why I want to share those stories. It's the reason that I want to share those stories because those facts exist. To me, they're facts. Like us sitting here on a chair, watching the screen, it's a fact we're having this experience. To me, it's a matter of fact that every time you touch trauma, you touch in the spiritual, and the spiritual is available for us. And nobody heals by themselves. right now you have in your ancestors sitting on the bleachers of heaven looking at you and seeing what you're doing in this life. Are you going to heal? You know, that they're watching you, and here we are, we're thinking we're alone, but we're never alone. They're always there. So we have to take that into account, and there's a ways to recruit help and healing from our ancestry. So that's a long way of answering that.
Okay. Thank you.
And then Gael has been into both of my workshops in France. And the second workshop, we definitely intentionally go into it and do some healing with ancestry and generational trauma.
Mm.
And how was it, Gael? Was it powerful? It was in a church out of all places, and when we were doing it, the bells were ringing. Remember?
It wasn't a walk in the park. It was
Exactly.
intense. It was very intense. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. Any other questions? Who's next?
Well, you sort of answered my questions in your story. I was thinking, are there certain meridians or points that we'll have to sort of research or prepare for or get back into your head? But that's obviously not the case.
Meridians, again, it's just doorways. You know, I remember, and I'm sure many of you remember, if you studied Zen Shiatsu, and one of the aha moments when I had as a young man reading that book of Masunaga was the line, every tsubo is an opportunity to touch the spirit. So to me, that was etched and ingrained in my psyche. So every tsubo that I touch, every time that I touch the person, is the opportunity to work with their spirit. So, you know, and again, to me, I don't give so much credence to one meridian more than the other one, because in my clinical experience, half of my 25 years of practicing, I gave a lot of credence to the meridians, and then at some point I abandoned the meridians, and it was the scariest part of my practice at that time. It's like abandoning ship, and but the clients that were coming to me and the complexity that I was dealing with forced me in a way to do it, and I had to dare to do so to discover everything that I discovered. And eventually, it brought me back to the meridians. The meridians are always a part of my work, but by going away for the latter part of my career, again, I've concluded that there are certain principles that are more important than the meridians, much more important than the meridians, and you will experience it in the workshop too. I mean, a lot of it is the intangibles. It's our intention, our focus, you know, the way we conduct ourselves, the boundaries that we help create, and and uh, and just a slightly different and more specific viewpoint on trauma specifically opens many boxes in the energetic field. Yeah. So yeah, and one of the things that I really focus on, you know, in shiatsu we are trained to always assess the hara, and yes, we should give the hara a lot of emphasis, but in my practice, my immediate focus is the heart specifically. And what I'm always concerned about is the heart. You know, and even the initial physical assessment, you know, with touch starts for me always with the heart, never the heart. I don't even touch the heart for a few sessions. And the reason, there's a few reasons why I've come to conclude that that's the way to work with trauma, because the heart can sometimes give us a reading based on a trauma pattern, but if you deal with the heart first, the pattern in the heart can change very quickly. So I've concluded that can be a false diagnosis at times, and also the heart, you know, is the organ that is most protected. And if we enable in a very safe, gentle, and cooperative way our clients or the people that come to see us to start uh, opening those protective patterns, magic happens. Yeah, just wonderful things happen, very powerful things happen just by doing it. And the key word with ease, like doing it easily, because anybody in a chronic state, in particular with trauma, everything feels like a war. Everything is so arduous and hard and difficult and complicated. And some of them go to the ends of the world to find the solutions that, where in my experience, the change can happen with ease. It's just a matter of giving consistently the experience to our clients that we can change things with ease if we do it together. And if we do it with techniques that reinforce that letting go in the process of change, because you know everybody that has come to you and they say what they want is they want change, they want to let go of things, but they just don't know how. Correct? And they think letting go is some kind of you know, some kind of a magic ability that they don't have, but in actuality it's right there. It's just for them to be experienced in a different way, and we can do that with this work, you know, and re-emphasize it over and over, and especially make it a co-creative process, because it's otherwise it's not healing, it's just a treatment. It's a treatment that can create a healing experience, but it's not true healing. True healing is a process that one has to undertake, and in a way be accountable and responsible for that process. And then when they do so and they take the necessary steps, the byproduct of it is their healing. So we are not the healers; they are the healers. We are just there to work together to go through a process where they come on the other side. And they not only come on the other side, but now they're empowered, they got tools, they got knowledge, they achieve some self mastery, they have more resilience, and they might even discover their purpose. That's what gets me up in the morning every day, to deal with trauma after trauma here. is to see what happens when they finally get through it, right? To see the growth, it's like the most beautiful thing to witness is someone healing and elevating themselves and transforming. It's the most beautiful experience to share with someone.
what happens when you have somebody who you know has had some kind of a trauma and they are in, you know, maybe not absolute distress, but you know, they're in imbalance and their, you know, life is horribly affected, but they don't necessarily want to start to
To go
do
into their
things to
trauma.
help.
Got it.
Yeah. Or
To
not
go,
even go
they don't,
into it, but accept that that's, yeah, that's what's going on.
so then that's easy.
Oh, good.
You focus on educating them about the nervous system,
About,
about the nervous system.
all right, okay.
Because at the end of the day, uh, what the person desires is control. But how they're seeking that control is very interesting, because we are creatures that want, you know, we call it safety, but really what it is control. We want to be in control. But if your mechanisms, I call them mechanisms of control, you know, there's all kinds of behaviors that are formed to give us a sense of control. Now, a lot of the time, it comes from fear, and a fear that is based on certain beliefs, a belief system, and where there's fear and belief and mechanisms of control, there's always wounding or a sense of lack. And in a way, this is an operative system that people operate on. This is the neurology that creates the symptomology. So it's a matter of educating someone like that about, you know, wouldn't you want to do things slightly differently? Wouldn't you want to have more control? And let me show you. This is what's happening in your nervous system. This is why you feel the way that you feel. This is where you operate when you're under the conditions of fear. This is how you can change it. And when you can give them that kind of picture, people will buy in, because at the end of the day, what they want is control, right? And control, they want to feel empowered. They want to feel that they can make a change, they can make a difference in what they're doing. Otherwise, they'll just come to you to be treated. Okay, here's me, this organized creature that feels so helpless and victimized by my state. Here's me, fix me. You, the expert, I'm paying you money. Now fix this for me. You know, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Yeah. So you have to give them what they're seeking and then educate them on the how and what are the benefits that they will get out of it. You know, and then as you work, then they might understand. They'll make a connection. Oh yeah, this fear that I'm having is creating chaos. Well, where's that fear coming from? You know, just simply posing, you know, simple questions like that. Where is it coming from? And you start to make them think slowly, right? So you have to meet them at what they are. I mean, not many people recognize that what happened to them is what created their state, right? But you can meet them at where they are, and the best place to meet them is you know, through their nervous system and how it's creating everything, and then to demonstrate to them that they can have control over it, and let's do it together. Let me show you how we could do it, and then they'll buy in. Yeah. Well, that's a very good question, though, because how many people like that we know, right? Yeah, I love getting the ones you know, that the wife sends them. Oh yeah, my wife sent me here. Okay, and you know, and they're very skeptical, and or even the extreme ones. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you do. But by the time I finish with them, in the first 10, 15 minutes, they'll buy in because what they're coming to me anyways because they want solutions. They want to have control.
Can I ask another question? It's probably a very strange question. Don't know.
You already asked a few strange questions. I'm used to it.
So have you worked with anybody before who has brought trauma from their past life?
Yeah, this is the thing with past lives, right? I'll tell you another little story because I love telling stories, and we can relate to stories. Before I even became a therapist, I had to go through my own trauma healing, and that was brought about the recognition of trauma. The trauma was underneath my suffering. It was brought about from a back injury that didn't want to go away. How many clients have you had that have tried one therapy after another, after another, after another? Right? I was one of those clients. I had an injury. I tried the traditional ways, and then I said, "The hell with this," and I went on my own and went to the chiropractor and the massage and the osteo and the acupuncture, blah blah blah. So a year of suffering. Somehow, through it, I managed to fall in love for the first time. So a mixture of pain and love brought about an explosion from my subconscious of memories that were repressed. And that was quite shocking. If someone has experienced that here, they know what I'm talking about. It can feel for a person like if you take reality away, you take the floor and the walls away, and the person feel like they are lost in space. That's what it felt like. It felt very scary to suddenly be awake and smacked into your conscious memories that were repressed. You had no recollection of. So I had to deal with it. One of the places when I reached out to some friends and told them about what I was going through, one of the things that happened to me when I fell in love with the woman that I fell in love with, we both had a feeling that we met before, very strong feeling, and we would even dream the same dreams. Uh, I can't describe it, but we had a very strong feeling. So when I reached out to the friends and I tell them what I was going through, one of them recommended for me to go to a woman that was a worldwide expert in past life regression. And I thought that's a bit odd and extreme, but I was always very curious, and I decided to go. And this lovely British woman, who also lived in Hong Kong, Jackie, she lived there for many years. Uh, Before I knew it, after a biscuit and a cup of tea, she put me in a trance, and all of a sudden I see this past life, like watching a movie, very vivid with all the sensations. And I saw uh, our past life that I had with this my first love, and the theme was all about betrayal, right? So to answer your question, we can repeat a theme of a past life. Well, that's my experience, right? But in the work that I do, I never concentrate on people's past life. I decided not to go there, even though I was mentored eventually by experts in that, and I learned a lot through them. But in my work, what I was shown that what's important is this life, the past lives. You carry a theme into this life. The theme could be betrayal. It could be loss. It could be there's a particular theme that we carry, and what's important is to treat it in this life. And oftentimes that theme is carried over through relationships. And what's important in the work in this life is healing the pain through the relationships that you have. That could be, family and lovers, right? The theme of pain is from one life to another, one generation to another. The key, excuse me, the key is to heal it in this life.
During the course, so there's been a couple of times when I've been doing treatments, only 2 or 3 times, where a past life regression has happened, and I didn't realize it was going to happen. It just did for the client.
For the
So
client, yeah.
and that helped, and they went through it, and we went through it together. During the course, because it's something that can happen just without realizing it's going to happen.
Oh, there's a lot of things that will happen without realizing.
Yeah. So do you give us tools that we can deal with that, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. My team, and Gael knows it. My main intention, and this is a work in progress, is for you to be comfortable with the most uncomfortable.
Mhm. Yeah.
So whatever you're uncomfortable with at this moment, and it happens in every workshop that I've taught so far, and I will even warn you before the workshop, and I will tell you exactly what will happen. And even with all of that, there'll be experiences in the workshop where all kinds of things will happen, will be triggered to happen, consciously or unconsciously. Either I will trigger you, something in the environment will trigger you, your partners will trigger you. And the reason being is that that saying, we all are mirrors, and we all are here to mirror to each other. So when you work with trauma or any type of therapeutic work, if a client is triggering you and making you uncomfortable, this is exactly what you need to work with. This is exactly the space that you need to go to. So having the tools and the know-how how to be comfortable with discomfort is in a way the muscle that you need to flex when you work with trauma, with the depth of suffering. Because once you open that box, all the discomfort comes out in all its shapes and shades and flavors. And you as the therapist, your job is not to be perfect, but to acknowledge that you have to do the work too. That's why it's a co-therapeutic relationship in a way, because everything that I've learned is from my clients. I haven't learned it from any teachers. I don't have a teacher that has taught me what I'm going to share with you. The teachers that have taught me all of it, or my clients. And they force me to dig deep. They force me to stretch and expand and try and go places. And that helped me grow and evolve. So to the point that I can be comfortable with anything that comes through this door. And if we had a camera in my room, you'll see what kind of things come in. And people feel that when they come to my space, and that's why I call it a muscle. When you exercise that muscle, when people will come to you, they will start to reveal themselves right away, without even much effort, just because they have this felt sense that no matter what they've been trying to hide, you can see it. People are scared to come to me, and I'm not a very scared person. And Many of them say, I don't know why I'm scared. One of the first things they say as soon as they sit on this cat, I don't know why I'm so nervous, why I'm so scared. They haven't even met me, right? And because when you hold that kind of space, whatever is hidden comes out. It will come out, it'll be seen, and then it'll be such a relief for them because finally they can be seen in a way that they've been craving to be seen, right? Good. Any other questions?
Judy, did you want to ask your question?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you, Elaine. I think I've heard what I need to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Corina, you had a question as well.
Somebody said the question here, how much importance do you put into working the sacrum during trauma work? That's an interesting question. Is that you, Corina?
No, it wasn't, but I'd be happy to hear your response. I was waiting on you sharing a little bit more on that question. I'm happy to wait and let you speak about that one.
Yeah, let me just mute somebody here. There we go. This a client of mine, she came not long ago. When she first came to me, it was 5 years. 5 years. Sorry. 5 years ago. This dynamite person, 25 years old, and she goes, I want to be a millionaire before I turn 30 years old. I said, okay, that's very ambitious. And anyways, I did an assessment on her. I said, well, if you want to be the person that you want to be by the age of 30, you cannot act like a rabbit. You cannot move around like a rabbit does. Because the nervous system, she was posturing one way, but her nervous system was saying something completely different. So here's a person with all these fears, right? How does the rabbit move? A rabbit lives in a hole, comes out the whole time afraid that something might happen. Can't wait to go back to the hole. That's how some people live. They live like that. That's how people's nervous systems are. So if you want to, I said, if you want to be successful by the age of 30, you cannot act like a rabbit. You have to act like a tiger and move like that. And when you're out there swimming with the animals in the corporate world, you got to be the tiger there. You can't be a rabbit. And anyways, to make a long story short, she turned 30 not long ago. And she was selling her company that she started at 25 for $5 million. And she sent me a picture from the boardroom where she had the meeting to sign the papers to sell her insurance company that she created. But then she sent me a text. As soon as I signed the paper, I have 2 disc bulges in my lower back where, the 5th meets the sacrum, right, and the 4th. And I've seen that a lot over the years, the sacrum and lower back injuries like that. So does it have a place? Does it connect with trauma? Yes, and it connects with a lot of it connects with financial trauma. Financial trauma, what does that mean? If you grew up in a household where there's always stress and trauma around money, and there's always this fear of scarcity, this is where she came from, right? And she said her way of adapting to that, to her trauma that she was exposed to, was I will be successful. I'll do whatever it takes to not be like my family, and even generations back. So talk about generational trauma around money. There was a lot of it in her family. And she decided to change the narrative. And but on the day of her changing the narrative, her bulges just, the disc bulges just bulged, right? And it's not necessarily a negative thing. It's just a release also. And it's just a matter of helping her correct that, right, and heal that as she was transitioning to the next chapter. So in the sacrum and the lower back, yeah, this can be financial trauma, sexual trauma, grief, and anger, rage in particular, not so much anger, but rage. So those are from all the backs and sacrums that I've touched, and there's a lot of them. Those were the 4 ones that I distilled: grief, rage, financial trauma, and sexual trauma. But the body is so interesting. I mean, there's lots of body parts that correlate with trauma, and we get into it, you know, in the workshop. Yeah, the sacrum, the lower back for sure. Go ahead, Kareem.
Thank you. Apologies for not being able to come when you started. I had another meeting. Yeah, it was very, very practical, really. It's after the workshops that you'll be sharing in Glasgow, what kind of resources might be available for us to refer back to? I sometimes find that I do a workshop and it's been really good, and then going back to day, how to integrate some of what has been learned and being able to refer to can be, I find, very, very helpful to be able to integrate it when practicing with clients.
Great question. And integration is a key word, right? Because you can go have a tremendous weekend, right, Gail? Have a tremendous, intense weekend. It could be life-changing, but then, you know, how do you bring that and integrate it into your everyday life if you practice, right? In particular, trauma. So first of all, I have extensive slides, which you will be sent, where a lot of the tools are, the sequences, processes are all there written. So you'll get that. Second of all, I permit attendees to take video of some of the processes and tools that will be taught to you. And then as a group, you can share that with each other. So you also have a video. Thirdly, I have already on my website videos of some of the tools. You can always purchase that as a reference, and I recommend it. And fourthly, we just started also a monthly meetup mentorship group just yesterday, actually, that you can join, and we'll meet once a month. and go over questions, case studies, processes, and have that community and ability to grow the therapist too. Because my mission is to make, in a way, shiatsu a household name when it comes to trauma therapy. That's what I'm doing, and because that's been my journey, and shiatsu gives us, in a way, the tools and the dojo to exercise abilities to work with the unspoken, to work with the roots of suffering. It's just that shiatsu needs more tools and more infrastructure around what it already has, which it has a lot, but it can use more, specifically working with trauma. So that's my mission. That means the whole community of shiatsu therapists choosing to consciously work with it and to say, yes, I work with trauma. Yeah, because the world needs us. This is the time in shiatsu history where we can step up. And I believe if we make ourselves known and accessible in the world of trauma, this is the opportunity. Because when I started, nobody dared to talk about it. Even when I opened a clinic for 10 years, I ran an integrated clinic around trauma. They thought, who is the shiatsu therapist opening a trauma clinic? And you have to bend people's arms to go to see a psychologist or counselor to talk about things. Now there's an explosion. Everybody is acknowledging it. Trauma, it's everywhere. It's in the workplace. It's in the government. It's everywhere. So this is where shiatsu can I believe thrive also, if we choose to consciously work with it. Say we are here to help.
Now there's
but
a question in the chat. Have you seen the question in the chat?
Yep. How many sessions does it take for an impactful shift to happen? The first session is quite impactful. If the person is not impacted after the first session, and you all will experience in it. I mean, there's a lot that is done in the first session, and what it brings is tremendous hope, a shift, and a huge release and relief. Yeah, and that propels them to want to continue to work with you. Yeah. So a shift can happen in a session, right? Yeah. But if they're working with anything chronic, it takes time, of course. But a tremendous shift is felt in the first session. And tremendous hope. Yeah, I will say hope is needed, because if someone is in darkness, hope is like the light. But if you are just clinging to hope, it's not enough. It's not enough. Yeah. But hope is necessary when you're stuck in darkness. Yeah. Good question. Yeah, do you have any maybe anything recent, a case study that you might have a question around, or how many of you have worked with people that come to you specifically to work on trauma? Okay.
I think they're a bit scared to use the word trauma. When you say trauma, they think about big things. In my experience, sometimes trauma is something you've completely forgotten about. It can be a little thing that just got under your defense at the wrong time. And it may be something somebody said opposed to the big things that can happen to you. So they don't use the word trauma.
What do they use?
Not trauma. They just cry when they had somebody died recently or something like that, or it's normally that it's picked up during a treatment. They just come for a treatment. They don't necessarily say, "I've got this or that," because you can only deal with what they actually tell you. It is more what you pick up during the treatment, and when you start asking questions, you get some answers normally, and you can work from there. They want to verbalize it. They don't always do. Not in the first session, maybe in the second, when you've got that trust established as well.
But they also don't know that you might be able to help them with that, correct? Yeah. But eventually, you know, as you commit to working with it, people will come to you specifically for that. Okay? And you can be that go-to therapist in your town. You know, and when I say we're gonna work on trauma, I mean a lot of the things that you will learn, they're applicable to anything chronic. Because when you're working with, and that's what we're gonna do, when you're working with the protective patterns of trauma, you're also touching everything that comes with it and everything that is chronic. So the workshop will help you with all your chronic clients. So think about all your chronic clients and all the things that they've been coming to you with, and which will be a great opportunity for you to take those new tools and use them on those existing clients where things are not quite shifting for whatever reason. Without probing, just using the tools. Yeah, it translates to anything chronic.
Yeah, I think we've learned that as therapists. I mean, as you said, my clients have been my biggest teachers, and I've been growing over time. And when they come in for pain in my back, where I live, especially in England, they don't necessarily connect it to trauma. It's something that we then explain with, like you say, with the nervous system, etc., and energies. But they generally don't come in and say it's caused by trauma. That's something we have to pick up on and then explain why they have a pain. And just because they have a pain in their knee doesn't mean the problem is in the knee.
Yes. But that's the beauty of what we do, right? We can.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and once you help them with that, that's it. They come to you just because of it. Some of my longtime clients, they're so funny. They're always testing me. You know, I call them pineapples. You know, people like that. You know, they're a little spiky on the outside. You know, but once you open them up, they're so sweet and juicy on the. So every time they come in, I always, you know, ask them, "So how you been? How you doing?" They always say, "I don't know. You'll tell me." Right? It's not that they don't know, but they're always testing, right? It's like a game now. Yeah. But yeah, it's the beauty with the tools. It will help you with anything chronic that comes through the door, and it will help your clients again look at your relationship differently. Not look at your relationship, but show up in the process differently. And because of it, the treatments that you will give them will be that much deeper, and the bond that it will create, and the tools will also empower your clients very much so. Very much so, yeah. And they can take some of those tools into their life and into their workplace or their relationship, and they would change quite quickly if they apply those tools. Yeah, go ahead, Don.
Yeah, I think what I really appreciated from your workshop in Vienna is only 3 hours, but it was profound, and it kind of confirmed some stuff I was also doing. But I think what you brought also, you work from a very kind heart space, and you held that space, and it felt very safe. And it takes courage to come from shiatsu. And even more so, it takes courage to be a practitioner. And I think it's that kind of working together, and it felt like we lift each other up. I mean, we all know that. So I really appreciated that, and some of the techniques you showed had really profound effects. From the first, a new person came, and then anyway, never mind. That was just my experience, but I really appreciated that. I think you really, yeah, brought that kindness, from your heart, and because you talk how you touch the heart, and it comes from that heart space. It has to come from there, actually, not from the head or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta come from the heart. Yeah. And that was 50 people in the class there, right? 50 people diving into the protective mechanism, and that was quite an adventure there. Yeah. Thank you, Don. Very kind. Thank you very much.
I was going to say one more thing. It felt safe. It was a safe space. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the key, right? How do we create safety, for people to remove their protective patterns, right? And in my work, as we move along into it, I do a lot of work with groups too. I've always done it because when I had my clinic, I mean, I surround myself with an incredible team. We all had to learn about trauma. We all had to learn how each modality can help trauma. I created programs, uh, systems around it. I was working like a mad person back then, 7 days a week. But what I concluded with all of that, we can do miracles with them. A matter of weeks. People will fly, the family members will tell, their family, they will fly to our clinic. But what I learned from all of it, I realized, wow, we really did them a disservice because we can do all those things for them, but then we didn't really educate them or taught them the tools, or we just treated them. And so then I started to create, a platform where, you start to work in a group environment too. And that's the beauty with this work. You can start working one-on-one with clients, but eventually you can also take it to a group setting and work and creating this safe space for a group of people that are working on their traumas. And actually there, more of the healing happens much, much quicker and much faster than the one-on-one. And it's quite profound too to witness it. So that's the way I like to work too. I work with people one-on-one, and then they join my groups. and we do some work in group settings where they learn more, they experience more, they help each other, which is, and it's an empowering place where if you can create that safe container, and then people can come vulnerable, but with kindness and courage, profound. Yeah. Yeah. So even all the therapists, no matter the experience level, it's a profound experience because something happens in a group setting, as you know. Again, when you dive into trauma, it just seems to be just much more intense and much more palpable in the air. Yeah, but it's an amazing group experience. Yeah.
Can I just ask a question?
Of course, Jane.
I'm just wondering, because you work, it's quite new to me to kind of work kind of specifically like this, so hopefully I won't sound a bit stupid, but I'm just wondering how, with working with this many people at this level, what do you do to protect yourself and maintain your own care and energy?
Very good question. And it's one of the most popular questions that I'm asked all the time. Now, in my first 10 years of my practice, nobody taught me. I remember the initial story that I told you with the Greek woman, and you know that one of the first things I did, I called my teacher and I told them the experience. I'm like, what can I do with this? And they didn't know how to really help me. They just said, protect yourself. and then they suggested some meditations and this, and they didn't work. Whatever they suggested didn't work. It was like opening a Pandora box. And being a highly sensitive, I would get sick. I would even actually see it when it's happening, feel it when it's happening. And I suffered, and I had to learn, just going through the fire of suffering, let's say. I had to learn how to protect myself, especially when somebody like Jackie, you know, if you naturally have this ability where the spiritual opens up for you too, and you have spirits coming into a space and an experience. It was not. It was, to be honest, it was quite dark and difficult at times. And I suffered many times. I would get sick. I would, yeah. So at some point, what I realized and what I was shown, that the more I understand boundaries in my life, the more, and thank God I went through everything that I went through, because now I can teach it to others. The more I understand the intricacies of boundaries, the more I can help myself. And the more I can help be present in the therapeutic relationship with everything that comes to the room with your client. And the more complex the client is, the more the boundaries have to be set. Now, doesn't matter how good you are at setting boundaries when you're working with energy, or you're working with people, especially touching people. And you don't even have to touch people, because I used to work with organizations that are the frontliners with trauma, and their biggest thing was burnout. So we're talking about not just the police, the firemen, the emergency people. We're talking about psychologists, counselors, working full time, with the epidemic of trauma, and we live in a safe society. The numbers are off the chart. So I can't imagine what it is in Scotland and UK, because here in safe Canada, the epidemic of trauma is off the chart. And it was like that even before it became a household term, trauma. That's what prompted me to open the center. So burnout, fatigue is rampant in caretakers and people that work with pain and suffering. So it doesn't matter how good your boundaries are. If you're not investing in caring for yourself and taking care of yourself, you will burn out. You will get sick. You will be affected on many levels. So I built my life because of my experience. So I surround myself with, healthy people that uplift me. My household is my sanctuary. I surround myself with love. I have pets. There's nobody in my life that does not make me happy. Long time ago, I removed all of that from my life. And all the habits that I have are healthy habits. So I go, I swim, I sweat, I do my work, right? So I can show up in the best way that I can. And I'm not perfect, but because I've set that in my life as part of my infrastructure and habit, I'm always caring for myself. But I'm very cognizant of boundaries. And we'll dive into it in the workshop, because to me it's when somebody talked about when we talked about meridians, the which meridians and all that, those meridians are all great, but if you don't have your boundaries, if you don't understand what boundaries are, and you don't help your client understand what boundaries are, then I'm sorry, but whatever techniques or meridians you would use, they're not going to be as effective if you don't have boundaries there. And boundaries is not only just, this is my space and this is your space. People right away they default to that, This is my, this is my house, this is your house. Boundaries are a much more intricate system than that. And it's something that I very much established in a consistent way, personally, but also in the therapeutic relationship, and help my clients establish that. Because if we don't get that in order, nothing changes. And there's a way to assess boundaries. There's a tangible way to assess your boundaries. That we perceive our boundaries. We have a concept of boundaries, but we really don't understand it until we have a direct experience with it. And then once you have that experience, then you truly know what your boundaries are like. Yeah. And how you really manage it all. Those are one of the fundamental tools that I teach, not only therapists, but the clients when they come in. I emphasize that, and we come back to it to see how the boundaries changing, because your boundaries are a reflection to your life, your relationships, your thoughts, your feelings. Great question. And I'm a big fan of the sauna. For me, I don't do any special meditations, although I've done years of meditation. I don't do any chanting or crystals or chimes or staging. I go and I sweat. I sit in the sauna and I sweat, and I've tried all of the above and more. And what I've concluded after trying all these things and all the special rituals and all of that, that really, when it comes down to it, the most effective tool is just to sit in the sauna and sweat. And that's like my church, my temple, and I clean myself on all levels, and I get so much out of it. It's amazing. Yeah, so it's a fundamental tool for me. Yeah.
Can I say
Go ahead,
something?
guys. Yeah.
So I had the chance to attend I went for it. The two workshops, the first one in May in France, and then the second one in, when was it, October?
October, yeah.
Yeah, I think the way I reflect back on it is that maybe I wasn't so quite there yet. But October has changed, well, me. I've taken some major decision. It has been a pivotal moment in my relationship with myself. So that was absolutely mind-blowing. And the question that was asked earlier, how do you integrate the workshop? Even after May, when I've taken on the protocol and the assessment tool, I straight went back. I had told all my clients that I was going on this workshop and I was so excited. And so when I came back, they were all like, so what is it? Tell us. I said, okay, lie down. Let's go into it. So I practiced straight away. And I think that's the only way to integrate. It's whether you're not really sure, people are always understanding. I had my note next to me. I had sum up the note, rewrite the note, and I had some help. And sometimes I would go back to my notes to make sure I was going the right way. But there've been this co-creation with all the people I see, and they have helped me to practice, integrate, and get a better practitioner. Well, in some ways, yes, and so did the workshop actually. So I just wanted to. I'm always an enthusiast anyway, but I just wanted to say that it's a door. It's like a opening a wee door. We've seen that door. It's been open on occasion, maybe closed down a bit, but it's having the courage to push a little bit more, to see a bit more light, and walking towards it and going through, and then the world is your oyster. That's when magic happens, actually. Highly recommended, but I'm biased. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. And I love the idea of being comfortable with the uncomfortable. Because things can happen that can be, I don't know, shaky, make you shaky. And you have to find your ground. And this is like above being in your hara, is you have to stay still so everything can, so there is no interference with what is unfolding. And it's magical. It's magical when that happens, but it's above everything we learn. I mean, grounding, being in your hara, but there is this moment when you really have to, it's almost you go in you, so there is no interference, and it's sacred. It's very sacred, because then that gives the opportunity of the person who's receiving to unfold at their own pace. And it's wonderful to witness. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very privileged.
Yeah. We are a witness
Yeah.
A conscious witness. Yeah.
Mhm.
That imbue courage, compassion, kindness, light. Yeah. Everything else is secondary. Meridians and this channel and that channel is secondary. Yeah. Thank you, Gail. Good. How does it feel? Feel like it's a good place to end?
Yeah, it could be. So Jane is saying she has to go. I'm
Hey,
just
goodbye,
listening to what you're saying, Michal, and thinking, this year is quite a big sort of year for me. I'm doing some things that are taking me out of my comfort zone a lot. And so this course is going to be the second big one for me this year, which will be allowing me to really develop myself in a way that I haven't had the opportunity over the last probably 10 years. Yeah. So
Well,
thank you.
exciting. Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, that's a key word that you said, that allow, right? Allowing, right? Yeah, allowing is a key word. I love that word. It's one of my favorite words.
Yeah. Good. So thank you very much for being willing to come up to Scotland and share your teaching with us.
Yeah, I can't
That's
wait.
something, sometimes we have to work a bit to get people to come up here. So it's nice that you were willing.
Well, like I said, I'm on a mission. A mission was tapped on my shoulder. Okay, you do it and spread it to as many of your brothers and sisters as possible. And then
Right.
the ripples, as Gael and others who've taken the workshop, they go, and not only you helping your clients, but you've helped yourself, and that will spill over into your relationships and your community, and that's the beauty of this work, right?
Right. Good.
So it's my honor. I can't wait. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you very much to everybody for coming along. I know that quite a few of you have signed up already. And actually, while we were talking, I sent an email to somebody else, Michal, and she's come back and said, I've joined. So I don't know whether you want to go and have a look on your website a bit later on and
Sure.
see if you've got somebody else who's come in through that portal.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, and share with your colleagues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I look forward to sharing that space with you all. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Good. Okay.